Yeah, what is up? I hope you are doing well. We are back at the desk yet again for some fire content. I've been trying to make use of this platform to sort of kind of document the things that I learned and projects that I've been working on so that I, don't forget the things that I do know. But I also kind of see the educational aspect of things, so if I'm trying to learn something, I figured someone else might be trying to figure out the same certain problems that I'm trying to work through. Definitely about like 10 years too late for the how-to YouTube channels, but learning never really expires. That being said, today's video we'll be talking about AR integration in Instagram and a lot of these other platforms that are starting to pop up over the past few years. Virtual reality has always fascinated me since like the precursor of the Oculus. I remember that feeling of excitement the first time I found out about virtual reality. In its infancy, these earlier forms of virtual reality used to cost an arm and a leg to strap a 720p screen to your face, and that's what they called the interactive medium. People were speculating over the internet how virtual reality would impact people in the future. It's kind of crazy how we got from point A to point B, but that's definitely something that I want to go over today. Of course, as Moore's law dictates, time and research play a huge role in the developmental phases of certain technologies. We've been seeing that over the past 40 to 50 years. The technology that the public has access to basically doubles in performance and reduces in price as each year goes by. Of course, the smartphone progression is a great example of this. 20 years ago, phones used to look like this, but then a decade later, we began to add new integrations into these devices that allow us to connect more and wherever we wanted. In layman's terms, as the years go on, things get better. But what fascinates me so much is how these technologies have built upon themselves within the time periods that they've been conceived. The loose ideology of virtual reality is basically written into the roots of science fiction. Humanity has always been intrigued at the thought of taking one's person and being able to experience other things in other places. But just why has it taken only until the 2010s for this technology to become the reality we've all been wanting it to become? The answer to that is marketability. I am by no means an expert on market trends or experimental research and development for certain technologies, but one thing I can say for sure is that people love money. And what happens when you put passionate people in a position to receive funds from wealthy corporations? You get the connect. I'm sort of using this as like a stepping point and more of a generalization. I'll definitely be able to get more into it, but I think this is a great place to kind of formulate all my thoughts around. June 2009, Microsoft released what they believe to be the next integration of technologies for video games. In essence, the Kinect was Microsoft's response to the Wii, which was Nintendo's response to how many TVs can we break. Oh. In the latter half of the 360's lifespan, Microsoft had a very perplexing issue on their hands. As the leading console of this era, they definitely had the competitive and more lucrative gamers on their side, but they weren't able to cash in on that more casual market. So instead of putting more effort to ensure that the transition between the 360 to the Xbox One wasn't a commercial failure, they did exactly that by doing a complete rebranding which drove sales down and alienated their only player base. So blah blah blah, fast forward, Kinect Adventures becomes the #1 top-selling Xbox 360 game of all time. Don't know how that happened. Microsoft focused the latter years of the Xbox 360 as this sort of home media entertainment console and kinda didn't really do a lot as far as video game development goes. The numbers don't lie, the Xbox 360 ended up coming in second place in the console wars for that era, but they definitely had their footing in that casual market. The influence of the Wii definitely had a number on the development of the Kinect, but the Kinect did something that the Wii wasn't able to do. Within the realm of the only interactive medium, putting the person in as the controller borderline edges that VR format that we were talking about before. With this new piece of technology, developers were having a field day trying to create new and exciting experiences to add to their game. While a lot of them kind of did the easy way out and only used the voice commands or small integrations for like hand waving, a ton of independent developers began to hack their Kinect to do crazy. I won't be able to show all the examples, but there's a lot out there. With this new piece of hardware, new doors of the video game worlds have been unlocked to people that otherwise would need to be using more expensive, more intricate devices that weren't readily accessible. Kinect teed up this great idea of integrating a completely new era of video game, be playable with just the human body themselves. And then this happened. A little late to the party, but I guess it worked out. This device, for the 7 million people that actually purchased it, was the first exploration into virtual reality. Commercially, what I would call the first consumer readily available project for virtual reality was a complete flop. People just weren't ready for the reality-defying graphics of Tetris Effect yet. Besides users citing motion sickness, among a myriad of other issues, PlayStation VR's lifespan was cut prematurely, thanks to the market not being exactly at the right place at the right time. Coming straight off the heels of the Wii, about a decade late, trying to capture what made Wii bowling so special for so many people for the first time is a lot harder when you're trying to integrate that feeling with No Man's Sky. However, this effort to normalize the VR atmosphere was a crucial step in developing new technologies for the future. Oculus and Vive now have a competent competitor, not exactly in the same realm of practicality or usability, but definitely in accessibility. Thanks to PlayStation's efforts, we know that VR is a long way of becoming the commercially viable product. You can have as many Half-Life Alexes as you want, sure, go ahead. But if Nintendo was selling me a piece of cardboard that I could just slap onto my face and call it an experience, you know, why bother in that space? Through the ashes of developmental help between the Wii motion controls, the Kinect, and the PlayStation VR, augmented reality has sort of become the victor. From Snapchat to YouTube, everyone is getting their hands in on this. Thanks to the new integrations from certain smartphones such as the gyroscope or other geolocation devices, you don't need to look far to find an augmented reality machine. By summer 2017, more than 60 million active users were using augmented reality. You had people literally willing to trespass on property to catch their 100th Magikarp. Even by the same standards as the PlayStation VR, which was released the exact same year as Pokemon Go, there's nearly a 30 million plus user interactive difference between the two. Even at this point in time, augmented reality shows no signs in stopping. I can go into the countless QR code toys that have been released over these past few years, but I really want to focus on this phenomenon of the filter. What once were strictly reserved by the companies that created them, programs such as Spark AR are allowing the individual to create and be able to share among the millions of users across social media. The limits to a lot of these are based down strictly to just the creativity of the user. We now have the ability to use our smartphones to connect to an otherwise completely disregarded medium. Even if you look at some of the works that I've done, you can see just how these impact our user experience. The filter that I'm most proud of was for an artist called 100 Gecs. It's definitely a little bit more out there, but I was trying to convey a message of going to vote and being able to have artist representation behind it. We are living in such a formidable time. It is insane to think that what once was science fiction has become a readily available format that any person can create with. While we are years off from being able to have that true virtual reality experience that we've dreamed of, augmented reality is filling this creative void that has been inside all of us this entire time. Patience and perseverance is the only thing we really have left right now, because the strides that virtual reality are having every single day, going just that into the experiences that we'd be able to come out of them. Alright, that's all I wanted to say.